America is home to the world's largest military aviation museum, so it comes as no shock to me that the United States also features the world's largest space museum. So, ticking off state number 18 on my list is Alabama, where my family and I spent the day in Huntsville at the US Space and Rocket Center, and at this point, I don't actually think it's possible for this country to stop impressing me. The opportunities for children alone amazes me. So in today's video, we're going to explore what you can see and do here and what makes it so special. But before we get into it, if you've been following along with me on this road trip, you can probably tell that we're not in Alabama anymore. That's because we have carried on with our road trip and we are now in Georgia, which isn't a new state to us. We have been here before, but we left our motel yesterday and we're currently staying at a place my daughter likes to call Wolf City, which actually makes sense with a bit of context. It's an American branded resort called the Great Wolf Lodge, where everybody walks around wearing wolf ears. It's an indoor water park and a perfect way to break up the 2-week road trip, and definitely a change of pace from a museum. But that's the thing, the US Space and Rocket Center isn't just a museum. It's also a space camp for children aged 9 and up. Even family space camps are an option, where children as young as 7 can train to be an astronaut on real equipment, learn about the past, the present, and the future of space exploration, and so much more. Now, it isn't cheap. For ages 7 and up, for a 3-day stay at space camp starts from $799 each. But if you've got a future astronaut in the family, this really is an amazing opportunity. To visit the Space Center just for the day, like we did, adults are $30 each and children under 4 go free. So that was a bonus for us because the amount of activities they have for small children is actually incredible. Isabel's only 3 and she was fully entertained for the entire day. And the education side is just brilliant. So I was aware animals had gone to space. But one famous figure I was previously not aware of before my visit here was that of Miss Baker, a Peruvian squirrel monkey launched into space on a Jupiter rocket in 1959 and the first one to be safely and successfully recovered. She did have a space buddy called Abel, but sadly Abel died 4 days after returning to Earth. But Miss Baker became an institution within the Rocket Center's education program here in Huntsville. A special habitat was created for her, and she lived at the center for 13 years as a sort of monkey-naut celebrity. And then, unfortunately, she died, but she was buried on the grounds of the Space Center, so people can still visit her today and even leave bananas at her grave, which is really, really sweet. Now, I'm the type of person that loves sci-fi movies, so stepping away from the science fiction and into reality, the Davidson Center Annex is where you'll find the most impressive parts of the Space Center. In here, you will find the test Saturn V moon rocket that was used in the development of the Apollo program and follow the story of how it became an integral component in sending humans to space. At the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, you'll find impressive displays and full-scale replicas of the Saturn V, but here in Huntsville, you'll find something truly unique. The only Saturn V rocket designated as a National Historic Landmark. You walk through the story of the Saturn V's development, so from early testing to the missions that ultimately took humans to the moon. The first Saturn V flight, Apollo 4, launched in 1967 and was uncrewed, testing all 3 rocket stages. Over the course of the Apollo program, the Saturn V carried out 9 crewed missions, including the iconic Apollo 11 landing in 1969. The rocket continued to make history until its final launch in 1973, when it carried Skylab, America's first space station, into orbit. Some of my favorite highlights in this part of the center were the Apollo 16 command module, the Skylab orbital workshop, and a huge moment for me was seeing a real piece of the moon for the very first time, and that's thanks to the Apollo 12 moon rock that's on display. And of course, there are plenty of hands-on activities for kids. Isabel loved the control panel, the Saturn V testing simulation, and naturally pretending she was driving a moon buggy. Speaking of simulators, there are two really fun ones in the rocket part. You've probably seen similar ones at theme parks, but they're fantastic for breaking up museum time and keeping the kids excited. The first is the Moonshot, which simulates a vertical launch. The second is the G-force accelerator, similar to those old school carnival gravitation rides, taking you up to 3 Gs. Now, the minimum height is 48 inches, so Isabel was, of course, too small to do that this time, but that didn't stop her desperately wanting to go on. Instead, she made the most of the rainy weather and happily jumped in every single puddle that she could find. So, while she was busy doing that, we explored the Cold War era, missiles, aircraft, and vehicles that were all outside, plus the impressive Saturn I, another early test launch vehicle capable of lifting around 20,000 pounds. Very impressive to see up close. So, similar to our trip in Dayton, Ohio, this space center in Huntsville is part of a working government facility, the public-facing side of NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, which is considered the birthplace of America's space program. So before rockets arrived, Huntsville was a completely different place. According to the Space Center's website, it was once known as the watercress capital of the world. Basically, it was famous for farming. But everything changed in the 1950s when Dr. Werner von Braun and his team of German rocket scientists, brought to the US in 1945, developed rockets for the US government. Their work transformed Huntsville from farmland into a hub for science and aerospace. The Marshall Space Flight Center officially opened in 1960 with von Braun as its first director. The visitor center here opened in 1970 on land donated by the US Army, and Space Camp followed in 1982, launching the interactive and educational programs that kids, teens, and families enjoy today, which is what I mentioned at the beginning. So what happened here truly shaped the American space program. Outside the US, it's easy to forget that this is where the rockets were built that launched the first American satellite, sent astronauts to the moon, powered the space shuttle, and even helped build parts of the International Space Station. One thing we didn't manage to see this time was the planetarium show, especially the James Webb Telescope feature. The showings didn't line up with our schedule, and there is actually a small extra cost, but I have heard it's brilliant, so it is definitely on our list for next time. But that is everything we did here. So I will see you in the next one, where we are moving over to Mississippi. Thank you so much for watching, and honestly, thank you for all your recommendations. I wouldn't know which incredible places to visit without you. And a massive thank you to my channel members. Your support means the world to me.